Galimera, Galimera, Galimera. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And as you can see, the lovely ladies are waiting for me. They're all like besieging us. And you know the annoying thing this morning is they've pooed on my chair. That really has annoyed me this morning. Anyway, are you ready then, ladies? You've got your fans tuning in at the moment, looking forward to watching you all being fed. Now, come on, over here. Come on, then. Come on. There we go. There we go. There's Laurel and Hardy pecking away. And we've got another little one coming in as well. Anyway, thank you for all those people who are tuning in at the moment. Here they are. Ow. You're getting quite pecky there, aren't you? Shall I just drop that on the floor there for you to finish it off? And I'm going to throw a handful out over to the ones out there so they all don't get frightened off. There we go. There we go. Right. There you go, the highlight of the day, feeding the chickens. Lot been going on in the last 24 hours as always. Let's have a quick look at the weather forecast for today. Chris Needle is there, Lindsay Lamb's tuning in as well. Look at that, what a beautiful day today. Not a cloud in the sky, just a hint of smoke over the back there. Somebody's still doing their olives. And it's a glorious day. Jane and I, we went for a walk yesterday around the TAOR, Area of Responsibility. Beautiful afternoon yesterday afternoon. It was really warm. We actually had to start removing layers of clothing because it was a bit hot at the moment. So it was nice to see Steve Hinkling from Stoke-on-Trent tuning in. Thank you for the membership of the Leak site. Jane was looking at the pictures of her mum back in the 80s on there yesterday, confirming it was her. So thanks for that, Steve. Over the back here, oh my God, the sun is so strong. It's lovely. It's beautiful today, and it is glorious, absolutely glorious. As you can see, looking towards Kalamaki and Laguna, it'll be nice and hot over there, that is for sure. The sun coming up over there. Looking towards the hill, the big hill there, and also the direction of Sillaby is looking lovely there as well. Big shout out to Gaz Collins. Have you heard the news, Gaz? They've announced cuts to the RAF regiment, so I don't know what's happening with us. Are we a corps that's going to be phased out, or is it going to morph into something else? But anyway, cheers for tuning in, fella. That's the news at the moment. That's a lot of gunners. I think I've even had Wiggy trying to call me this morning with the news of that as well. Anyway, let's crack on with what's been happening here in Greece. Look at all the chickens here. Oh, for fuck's sake! Jesus Christ! You fuckers! Excuse the French. Right. Is my laptop still working? Bloody hell. Jesus. Yeah, it still seems to be going. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. Oh, bloody. Oh. No. Right, okay. Excuse my language there. Right then, let's have a look. This is what happens. Oh, continue. Right, let me. Oh, it looks like I've lost me. My tablet's not working now, despite the fact that the laptop's gone flying. The tablet's not working, and I can't switch round. I'm going to quickly just stop a tick. Continue. Let's try that. It now. You have intelligent chickens using your laptop. Thank you for that, Tim. There we go. I'm back again now. Oh, God Almighty! I tell you, my whole life flashed before me there when that happened. But everything seems to be okay. Right. Oh yeah. Let's just check to make sure the mouse is still going. Oh yeah, it's still scrolling. Right. Okay. Didn't expect that. Anyway, date today, 22nd of February, 2021. Today is Monday, and it is day 108 of the lockdown. Can you believe that? Anyway, COVID in the last 24 hours. Last time I reported to you, we'd had 1,424 cases. Fantastically now, it has dropped down to 884 new infections across the country, which is good. It's heading in the right direction. That's 179,802 infections since the pandemic started. 7 new cases were identified after checks into the country. That is up, I'm afraid. Remember, we had 2 days where there was 2 people a day that was coming through. It looks like that little period has come to an end. Looking at the national stats for infections then, there's been no new cases in Lefkada. There's been no new cases in Kefalonia. There's been 2 cases on Corfu. Now, we've had 1 case reported on Zakynthos. I think that's just a catch-up from somewhere. But locally, there's been nothing reported whatsoever. So at the moment, that's been good. In fact, we haven't had a locally reported case for a few days now, not since Fridays, which is good. And the last locally reported case was a 63-year-old woman. But since then, nothing. So at the moment, just to re-emphasise, Zakynthos has had 84 positive cases since the beginning of the year. And during the month of February, we've had 47 positive cases here. So at the moment, everything seems to be heading in the right direction for Zakynthos. And of course, we are now out of the red zone, and we have done our first weekend in the yellow zone. Anyway, as for deaths, I'm afraid they're up just slightly across Greece. Last I reported to you, we had 23. And now we have 25 new deaths reported. The average age of those people is 79 years of age. The total deaths since the pandemic started has been 6,297 people. And 96% of those had underlying health conditions or were over the age of 70. And just to put that in context, the average daily death rate in 2019, well before coronavirus ever raised its head, was 329 deaths a day across Greece. Anyway, again, still no gender of fatalities. For some reason, that stat has been removed. Don't ask me why, but that has gone. And as for Zakynthos deaths this year, we have only had 1 death this year, and that was about 2 weeks ago now here on the island. Right, as for critical cases, that's up slightly as well, from 325 to 326. 219 of those are male, and it looks like 1 lady has got better, and it's 105 females, just dropping down 1 there. The average age of those critical patients is 68 years of age, and 86% of those have got underlying health conditions as well. Right, news, stop press news this morning then. The Deputy Mayor of Education here on Zakynthos, Nikos Spinos, he's written to the Ministry of Education requesting the municipality of Zakynthos is allowed to suspend the operation of schools for a few days after a meeting by the Municipal Council was held last Wednesday. Now, Mr. Spinos referred to the actions taken by the municipality of Zakynthos throughout the previous period, both for the issue of the schools and for the assistance to the controls carried out by the Greek Health, noting that the municipality had proceeded with a new supply of 1,000 rapid tests for conducting sample checks on the local population. Now, the Municipal Council met last Wednesday and also on Thursday, and in cooperation with a Member of Parliament and the Deputy Regional Governor, they request that a letter was sent for the suspension of the operation of schools to the civil protection. Now, as far as I'm aware, the schools have still gone back. Remember, we had the restrictions lifted, taking us out of the red zone into the yellow zone, which meant that the schools could obviously reopen. Anyway, the decision of the region followed on Sunday after consultation with the municipality, and on Wednesday, students returned to their schools. This is from last week. It said that the Deputy Mayor clarifying the legal framework in which the municipality is specific, and that recently there is a relative recession in cases. Anyway, the decision made by the municipality must be clear and based on legality, said the Deputy Mayor. The essence is that after the continuous cases lately in the terms of students are going much better. Anyway, answers given by the mayor and the issue of heating in schools, and then they sort of changed the subject, basically, making it known that there's chronic problems that existed recently in the gymnasiums of 2 and 3. He said the problem with the heating have been overcome, and where there are outstanding issues, we are trying to solve them as soon as possible. As far as oil is concerned, the supply, as we have said before, is the responsibility of the schools, and for that they are are subsidized by the state. But for any reason, the schools do not have any money for oil, either because there is no money from the canteens or because they are spent on other work or repairs. The municipality will assist and will never refuse. Anyway, there is no case for the children to take a lesson without heating. The deputy mayor noted, emphasising that everything possible is dealt with as immediately as possible. Finally, regarding the assistance that the municipality can offer to the mobile health units for the sample checks, Mr. Spinos added that rapid tests is provided wherever and whenever needed for the needs of the checks, while an effort is made to have assistance with staff. So there you go. I've just got a little message there. My son went to school for the first time since the 6th of November. He was happy. He was a happy kid. Oh, bless you. That was from Delia, who I think you're on the island, aren't you, Delia? So she said that her kid has gone back to school first time since November, and she's pleased about that. Right. OK, so at the moment, we're going to keep an eye on the schools. I do remember, if you remember last week, we were talking about that some of the schools got issues with heating and the fact that with the cold weather, the transmission is more likely to occur because the virus doesn't like heat. All right. And some of the schools themselves were leaving windows open as a form of airing out rooms to stop the actual virus spreading. And again, there was no heating, and the schools themselves generally are not the most warmest of places as well. In certain occasions, the infrastructure of them can be rather poor, actually. So again, if the kids are cold at school, they're not going to learn a lot because they're going to be bloody freezing, aren't they, at the end of the day? But anyway, we'll keep an eye on that. Now, also as well over the weekend, there was a new announcement from the Greek Civil Aviation Authority on restrictions on international flights and the mandatory quarantine on arrivals here into the country. Now, they're going to continue up until March the 8th. Okay, citizens of the following 10 countries are excluded from the new directive: United Kingdom, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, Rwanda, South Korea, Thailand, United Arab Emirates, the Russian Federation and Israel. Now, all passengers entering to Greece from any foreign country, including member states of the European Union, of which we're not a member anymore, are subject to mandatory precautionary restrictions at home or at their place of temporary residence, stated on the PLF form, which they must fill out before they arrive. Now, they must obviously quarantine for 7 days on the address on that PLF form, unless they're only here for a short period of time, in which case a temporary restriction is valid for this period until their departure. Right. In addition, foreign passengers will be subject to a sample check upon arrival based on the procedure followed by the passenger locator form, the old PLF. Yeah. And in cases where a positive is found, that passenger will then have to quarantine for 14 days. Now, with the United Kingdom, a 7-day quarantine and a new PCR test must be carried out after that 7 days for incoming passengers. But also remember, they've got to have a PCR test before they fly as well, which must be completed 72 hours before departure. And so you have one before you go, 72 hours before. You come back, you do your 7 days, and then you have another PCR test after that to make sure that you are clear there. So there must be a mandatory completion of the passenger locator forms. I know they can be awkward to do, but it seems like at the moment you've got a little bit longer in which to do it. It is also mandatory to complete the PLF form for passengers of foreign flights who are permanent residents of Greece and depart from airports of Greece. So you've also got to do a PLF form if you're going to leave the country and you're basically a permanent resident here. You still have to fill out a form to wherever you're going. Anyway, the suspension of flights between Greece and Turkey, that is still on. No surprise there, to be quite honest, with everything that's been going on, the saber rattling that's been happening in the Western Aegean. And in the Mediterranean. Also, all flights to and from Greece from Albania and Northern Macedonia, according to the new extension, must be via the Athens International Airport. You could get regional flights to Albania from Greece, but now All flights are being directed through Athens at the moment. Now, for Russians who are living permanently as residents here in Greece, they are able to move in and out of Greece, but only through the airports of Athens, Thessaloniki, and Heraklion down in Crete. And they're actually being limited, which is quite interesting. They're actually limiting the entry limit for Russians from those into those airports to 500 passengers per week. So it looks like you've got to get your name down to get in and out of the country if you're coming from Russia. Oh, those Russians. Anyway, international arrivals with a negative test 72 hours prior. The Civil Aviation Authority predicts that all passengers of international flights will enter our country only with negative PCR tests for COVID, which will be performed up to 72 hours before their arrival. They're reassuring us. It is also reminded that passengers will be subject to sampling test upon their entry into Greek territory on their PLF form. So I've already said that before. You're going to get tested before you go, all right, 72 hours before you go. You do your flight, you then arrive, you get tested again, okay, on arrival, and then you'll go into quarantine for 7 days if you're from from the UK, shall we say, as an example, and then you get tested again after that 7 days to be allowed out of your quarantine. And it makes me wonder, who's going to come and test you? How do you get tested? Are you allowed to move out of your house to go and be tested? There's a few questions there and a few little gaps in the system that are still yet. We're going to wait and see how things go. And I do know Chris Baxter, a good buddy of mine, is trying to get back to Greece after being in the UK. And it'll be interesting just to have a word with him as to how that procedure went. Or if you're somebody who's just arrived back, let me know. Did it all run smoothly? Was it easy? Did you get through okay? And how did you cope with testing after being in quarantine for 7 days? Were you allowed to leave your house to go and be tested or not? So I'll be curious to see how this is all going to work with these extra. But anyway, we've got till the 8th of March. So we have got a bit of time left. We're almost to the end of the month this week. And so we're talking the end of next week is when the 8th of March is going to be. So we'll see how that will work out. Anyway, it looks like the police in the Ionian Islands have been busy again, booking people. Saturday afternoon in Kefalonia, a local store owner was arrested and fined €3,000 for having 2 customers in his store. Each customer's fined €300 because it looked like they hadn't actually booked out, and they were also fined another €300 for not wearing a mask as well. So be warned, the police are out and about still. In addition, on Saturday night in Lefkada, a local was arrested and fined €3,000 for organising a private gathering at his house. Once again, you're not allowed private parties. Please don't be stupid to have one, all right? Okay, and also in Lefkada, which is a tiny little island as well, 3 people were also fined for violations of traffic restrictions. They were probably out after the curfew, and they were also fined €300 as well. Now, in the same round of inspections, there were 26 infringements in Corfu. There were 3 in Zakynthos, 4 in Kefalonia, and 2 in Lefkada for travel restrictions. And again, that was a €300 fine was imposed. Now, travel restrictions might be they didn't book out correctly or they were out during the curfew. All right, don't forget our curfew has been moved now. It's 9 o'clock till 5 o'clock in the morning, whereas before it was 6 o'clock before we moved from the red into the yellow zone. Anyway, and finally, also during this round of inspections, 20 people in Corfu, 4 in Zakynthos, 2 in Kefalonia, and 1 in Lefkada. They were all done €300 for not wearing a mask, all right? And they were fined €300 apiece. So remember, it's still mandatory that you wear a mask when you're walking around on the streets, and even if you're riding your bike, make sure you've got a mask on. Otherwise, you may actually get fined if you're stopped by the police, all right? Okay, also as well, just a little reminder for you as well, something that I spoke yesterday about anniversaries that are coming up within this next few weeks period. You may remember yesterday I told you that on the 1st of, whatever the date was yesterday, I can't remember the date of yesterday, but yesterday was the first anniversary of the first time a lockdown was imposed by a Western government, i.e. Italy, started off with a lockdown, and then that lockdown then became the norm for everybody else to do that, okay? And interestingly enough, the World Health Organization had actually expressly said to Italy, don't do a lockdown in the way that it was done. And then that became the standard way of doing things. Everything shuts down, businesses, everything locks down. And but the interesting thing was the World Health Organization had only previously congratulated the Chinese for their handling of the coronavirus and the way that they'd handled it. But we all know the World Health Organization is in the pay of China extraordinarily, and they weren't going to rock the boat with the Chinese who were giving them the money. But anyway, that's by the by. But just to remind you that this coming Friday, February the 26th, that will mark 1 year to the day since the first COVID-19 case was recorded here in Greece. And the first patient, because people will have forgotten by now, was a 38-year-old female from the northern city of Thessaloniki who was discharged from hospital 2 weeks later on March the 12th, along with her child who'd also been affected. And that was on the 26th of February. And the first fatality that we had here in Greece from the virus was actually reported on the 11th of March in 2020. And obviously since then we've recorded to date 6,272 deaths, which is averaging 17 deaths a day over that period. So just a little circumspect report. Anyway, also, as well, another little story that was coming through yesterday was Greece's Transparency Authority. They're the people who deal with corruption, are investigating allegations that a charity-run nursing home in the town of Volos administered COVID-19 vaccinations to individuals who were not on the list of people entitled to the jab at this time in Greece. Anyway, the nursing home chairman, Panos Pavlou, confirmed in comments to a Greek newspaper on Friday that at least one fellow board member who was not on the official list did receive the jab, claiming that this was done so that the surplus doses of vaccine left over for a variety of reasons would not go to waste. Anyway, upon the approved process, surplus jabs, they are supposed to be returned on that island to the local vaccination centres so they can be used to immunise frontline workers. You may remember there was the same case in the Ionian in Corfu where a member of the media was given a jab because he happened to be covering a story in a nursing home there, and there was a surplus of the virus, vaccine, and he'd had an injection, and there was all ructions going on over that case. But at the moment, yeah, there is corruption going on, trust me, and a few little pats on backs for buddies and friends, etc. It's not what you know, it's who you know, and that doesn't surprise me in the slightest. Anyway, the Association of Parents and Guardians of the Northern Aegean island of Fatos are preparing a case of intention for applying to the court seeking an injunction to close the island schools there due to the continuing high numbers of infections, which has risen to 51 in the last 14 days. And that Fatos is a very tiny little Aegean island. And again, it's one of those places now that I feel has been placed into the red. Right. And finally, story. Yes. And then finally, story. The rector of the University of Athens stated yesterday that initial data regarding the effectiveness of the COVID-19 vaccines shows a decrease in transmission of the virus amongst immunised groups, raising some optimism for the situation in the country during the weeks ahead. So we shall wait and see if the University of Athens is correct or not. At the moment, it's your choice whether you have the vaccine. Me, personally, I'm going to hang out and wait a little longer. I'm in no rush for it. And we shall see what transpires. Right, let's have a quick look who's tuning in. I've seen a few comments going as well in the lines there. Chris Neal is watching. Lovely to see you, Chris. Hope you're doing well. Lindsay Lamb is also watching. Steve Thompson is watching. Steve Hinkling is watching as well. Nice to see you. Steve Hinkling says, Gallimera, I hope you have a good day. Well, I hope I had a good day. I thought I had a bad day when the laptop went went flying there from Mr. Cockerell hitting it. And I'll have to watch out for that as well. Gaz Collins says, watch your buddy. Nice to see you, Gaz, Raffridge buddy. Dennis is also tuning in. Dennis Gumalolis is watching. Nice to have you tuning in, Dennis. I hope everything is good with you. Also, Tim Crystal, good morning, buddy. Hope everything is good. Yeah, everything is good. My laptop's still working. Julie Allen is watching as well. Tim Crystal, you have intelligent chickens using your laptop. Yes, it makes you wonder what they could be planning, doesn't it? I like this. Gaz Collins said to me, targets fall when hit. Old military thingy, when I'm firing on the range and you shoot at a target, it will drop when it is hit by the bullet. And yeah, my laptop definitely was a target falling when hit. He says the chickens are getting too bold, Steve Hinkling says. You might regret feeding them. Yeah, you're probably right, but I think we regretted that a long time ago. George from Bonico's, sorry, not Bonico's, George from the Obelix restaurant is tuning in. Are you looking for any chickens, George? For later on in the year. Anyway, he's watching and tuning in. Noel Hester is also watching as well. Delia Gussetti is watching as well. Paul Bruff up there in Poros is watching. Ex-Raffridge buddy. Nice to see you tuning in. Yvonne Monroe is tuning in. She says, morning DJ Ginge. And Delia said, obviously my son went to school for the first time since the 6th of November and he was so happy. Oh, bless you. Paul Bruffis says, morning Ginge from a glorious Poros. We have you, we will have to have that chat about leak before the brain cells got killed off by the ouzo. Oh, Paul Bruffett, that's right, you're from Leek as well. In fact, yes, I joined the Leek past memories or something for Jane because there was pictures of her mum and her family from way back posted on there, which again she was keen to see. Anyway, Mike Ginge Jones, oh hello, another Ginger, nice to have you tuning in as well. Delia says yes, I'm on the rock. Oh, brilliant. So yes, she's here and her little boy was happy to get back to school, bless it. Same here. Blake back to school, first time since the end of October. He's got a bit of freedom. Yeah, he probably has. Probably hated being cooped up all the time. So anyway, I'm pleased that your little lad is back at school now, and your other lad, I know he was supposed to be at university studying architecture or something, and I'm not sure. Is he obviously distance learning or still waiting to even start his university course? Anyway, Rachel Hanson is watching as well. Nice to have you tuning in, Rachel. Sunny Fledger from Opus is tuning in as well. Lovely to have you tuning in. So hoping that Opus is able to come and do a concert here in the summer. I know it's your final year. I know lots of people who are really hoping that this would come off. And you know what? It would be a fantastic tonic after everything that's gone on if you can come and do a gig here during the summer when hopefully we might be back to some form of normality at the moment. But lovely to have you tuning in as well. And I'll keep playing your tunes, mate. Don't worry about that. They're going. Rossi also from Rossi's Place is tuning in from Australia. So glad to see the Aussies are back with us after what went on with their Facebook page. I understand that all their news sites have been removed from Facebook in Australia, so they're having to come to me to get news, I've been told, which I take that as a compliment. Salmon Osamati is looking, Samson or Mati is tuning in as well. Nice to have you tuning in. That's an unusual name. David Lowry is watching as well. Rossi says, hi, buddy Ginge. Broadcasting services is on fire. Keep up, as well informed as usual. Keep up your good work for me, old mate. Oh, bless you, Rossi. And I hope you're having a lovely, pleasant time in the heat of Australia, as it will be at this time at the moment. Rachel Hanson says, good morning. Chick Valentine's, good morning. Tim Crystal says, I have another COVID test on Friday and I'm back to hospital for more tests on Monday. Will you take care, fella? I'm not going to say too much about what's going on with you, but I do know. And you take care, fella, and all the best, all right? Chris O'Gorman is watching as well. John Bailey is watching. Bluebell from Chevy's up there in Laguna, you're also tuning in. Nice to see you tuning in, Bluebell, as well. You're probably watching with great interest as to what's going to go on. Martin Cussell is watching as well. And Rossi says that you should have your name of your show, maybe Ginge GR. Bless you, fella. Thank you for that. Dennis Haliakis from the Michaelos restaurant in Kalamaki. He's also tuning in. Can't wait till you're open as well, mate. I'll tell you. I'm looking forward to the restaurants being reopened and the bars being open. That is what most of us are really looking forward to. With everything that's going on, we just want to we've got the shops back open now. No more click and collect and all that messing about. But the bars and the restaurants, they need to be reopened. And yes, we're a closed society. We had a bit of a spike. All right, we're not going to be dishonest and say we haven't, but we should not be completely closed down as we are still at the moment. Anyway, cheers for that, Dennis. Andy Holmes is watching as well. Gaz Eden is watching. Nice to have you, Raffridge, buddy. Yanni Takos is also tuning in as well. Nice to see you tuning in, Yanni. Rocky Regan is also tuning in as well. Nice to see you, big buddy. Steve Simpson is watching as well. Dean Oliver is watching. Another Raffridge, buddy. Anthony Westlake, another Raffridge, buddy. Howard Lamb says still waiting. Chris Darlington is watching as well. Tim Crystal says thanks, buddy, and Margaret Miller is watching as well. Right, I'm going to have to go. Things to do. Once again, thanks for tuning in. Can I just say thank you to all those people who tuned into the Northern Soul show yesterday. Absolutely fantastic. I had great chats in the chat room. The show, as far as I'm aware, is probably going to get repeated at some point on beatsradio.co.uk sometime throughout the day. So hopefully you can look forward to that. And don't forget, Wednesday, my next live show here from Studio 1 in Macarado. I'll be broadcasting from there. So if you've got any requests, any dedications or anything else like that, just stick it down in the comments and I will put those in my book ready for Wednesday. Anyway, that's it from me. You take care. Big shout out to Les Hardman. Nice to have you tuning in as well, big buddy. And I will see you soon. Catch you later. Ta-ra.